Great, thank you, Jesse. Welcome everybody to the June 4th Caroline Town Board agenda meeting. And I'll start this as a public hearing on the Caroline flood damage prevention local law, and then followed by the agenda meeting. And I'll start with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I will not, let's see, the first matter is to open, I hereby open the public hearing on the Caroline flood damage prevention local law, and ask for anybody who wishes to speak at the town hall to let us know. There is nobody else besides the board, and if anybody on the Zoom would like to speak to the public hearing on the flood damage law, please raise your Zoom hand now so that we can acknowledge you. I don't know, Beverly, if you wanted to speak to that. Doesn't look like it.
No, there's no hand.
No hand, okay. So with that, I will close the public hearing on the flood damage law. I actually intended to start the public hearing with a brief explanation, so I'm going to do that now, just so that we have it. And it's not going to be very long, but it'll be on the meeting recording that people can see, and it kind of explains why we're doing this. So let's see. That's going to work. Sharing. Jesse, let's see. Okay. Jesse, is my screen showing the local law?
Yep, I see it.
Okay. So I just, this was mandated by the new FEMA flood maps that have been reviewed over the last couple years. And I wanted to read the statement of purpose in the local law. It is the purpose of this local law to promote the public health, safety, general welfare, and to minimize public and private losses due to flood conditions in the specific areas by provisions designed to, 1, regulate uses which are dangerous to health, safety, and property due to water and or erosion hazards, or which result in damaging increases in erosion or in flood heights or velocities. 2, require that uses vulnerable to floods, including facilities which serve such uses, be protected against flood damage at the time of initial construction. 3, control the alteration of natural floodplains, stream channels, and natural protective barriers which are involved in the accommodation of floodwaters. 4, control filling, grading, dredging, and other development which may increase erosion or flood damages. 5, regulate the construction of flood barriers which will unnaturally divert floodwaters or which may increase flood hazards to other lands. And 6, qualify and maintain for participation in the National Flood Insurance Program. And that's for people who have mortgages need that. And then section 1.3, the objectives. The objectives of this local law are to protect human life and health, to minimize expenditure of public money for costly flood control projects, to minimize the need for rescue and relief efforts associated with flooding and generally undertaken at the expense of the general public. 4, to minimize prolonged business interruptions. 5, to minimize damage to public facilities and utilities such as water and gas mains, electric, telephone, sewer lines, streets, and bridges located in areas of special flood hazard. 6, to help maintain a stable tax base by providing for the sound use and development of areas of special flood hazard so as to minimize future flood blight areas. 7, to provide that developers are notified that property in this area of are notified that property is in an area of special flood hazard. And 8, to ensure that those who occupy the areas of special flood hazard assume responsibility for their actions. So I thought that nicely sort of summarizes why we have to do this. I'm not going to read any more of the local. I didn't think I would read the definition section or any subsequent sections. And I think that's probably a huge relief to everybody. I did want to point out, and maybe we'll send out a town announcement, that Tompkins County developed a really nice page on information, including FAQs on the new FEMA flood map regulations. And so there are, questions and answers, and you really great. The FEMA flood maps are there. You can just type in your address and see. Interestingly, actually, let me see if I can negotiate this. It's pretty cool. So yeah, these are the FAQs here. So here's the flood insurance rate map over here. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. So then you just click on the map and okay. And then let's say 2668 Slaterville Road, Slaterville Springs, New York. There it is. Go there. And now you can, navigate around on the map. And there's 6 Mile Creek, and that's the purple is the 100-year floodplain. And what's noticeable is that there's very little building in the floodplain, which is
great.
Makes sense, and it means people have been smart about this. So
Or they weren't and they got flooded out.
or yeah, but
And then didn't read.
true.
What's the
Natural
blue?
selection.
Yes.
So let's see, I'm not doing a good here. So here I'm going upstream.
The blue's 5 Mile Creek, right?
This
Or
is
6 Mile Creek.
6 Mile
Yeah.
Creek, yeah.
So,
Let's see. Go this way. There we go.
You know about the school. Yeah.
The school.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I did want to point out though, like here at Slaterville Springs, you can
Mhm.
see, here's all the properties. I'm pointing with my finger, nobody can see that, but you'll see the creek is free of building structures.
Yeah. Mhm.
But Kate makes a good point. There could be.
Where's the school? But people might like to think so.
Let's
right
see,
here,
that's
right there.
the Crispell farm there. So let's see.
Westville. You have to go farther, right?
Oops. Oh yeah, I haven't gone far enough.
So what's the blue?
That's.
I think the blue is 500-year floodplain.
Oh, okay,
The purple is 100-year floodplain.
okay,
Oh, okay.
all right, so.
Oh, this is the school where
Yeah.
my cursor is, right?
Mhm, Okay, okay.
So yeah, and there's the nice creek behind it.
So it's
So
pretty. Yeah, big floodplain there.
here's one, this one's right at Boyceville Road. You can see there's a house that's right on the corner. It's in the floodplain. But otherwise, I checked Brooktondale too. It's just like that, so it kind of makes sense.
Can I ask a curious question?
A curious question?
I'm curious. On Brookdale Road, the Mid Lakes insulation. Are they the fill,
Middle.
the fill that they're filling there, are they filling floodplain?
Probably.
Are they still
Well,
filling?
let's see, they still building.
They're slowly doing it, yeah, and it's almost completely filled at this point. I'm just curious because I saw in here that it talks about
Yeah,
that you're not supposed to fill.
Right.
yeah, so maybe we should look into that.
Well, I'm just wondering, I mean, the reason I wanted to see if it was on the map was if they changed it before, if it was somewhere before. And then the new FEMA changed it to be more strict in that particular location. They
No,
might
I don't-
have been outside
yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. It must be here, right? Is this?
it's right on Mid-Isle Road, wherever that, I can't see from the, in
I
the
can't
big
tell
screen
what
because
road
it's
you're on.
too small.
What's the name of it again? What's the name?
Mid Lakes Insulation.
Installation.
If we put in the address, then we can say.
Is that the name they're using now?
Mhm.
Well, it's what's on Google Maps.
Oh.
It's one of their many,
What's the
All
address?
that-
Yeah, I think it's right. I think it's right here.
all that got sold, so maybe. But it wasn't them who were doing
Is that
the
it?
fill.
it's one Mid-Isle Road.
Yeah,
It
there.
wasn't, they weren't who was doing the fill, it was the neighbors next to them, and the fill surrounds them.
Oh,
So they weren't
so,
doing the fill.
so which is the purple or the blue, the new regulations?
The purple is the 100-year floodplain.
But what changed? Do we know?
I don't think this shows the change. It just shows.
Oh,
what
there is
the
a
new
yellow,
regulations
there is
are.
a yellow, is that 1,000-year? See
Not
the
sure.
yellow edge
Yeah.
there that I've been seeing around?
Yeah,
Or is that the change? That might be
Ah.
the change.
I don't think they're showing the change on this map anymore.
I
I
don't
think,
think so either.
Okay.
I mean, I know we were thinking.
I'm sure there's a way to
about
find
the
it.
meeting, But I don't
Yeah.
think so.
So anyway, whatever it was, that spot is within the 100 and 500-year.
Yeah, here, this shows it pretty nicely here.
So yeah, they shouldn't be putting any fill in.
So do they have
This
to
is
get,
something that was discussed in detail with the previous code officer. By the liaison to the code officer
Mhm.
and
And it's been discussed in previous years
the
too.
previous years and. There's sometimes a situation with independence, the code officer.
so there's nothing that can be done now? I mean, if they're continuing to add to it.
If there's, yeah, I mean,
I
is
haven't
there
seen-
action going on?
I saw in the last month, I saw disturbed soil.
Okay.
Which means it's new.
Thank you. So that.
Well, we
That's
should look at it
a code
again.
action, yeah.
To it, yeah.
And what would happen is they just need to apply for a permit or that's not even
No,
possible?
it would be a stop work order um.
Huh.
I'm not gonna say, I don't know,
Yeah, right.
but it would have to be. Addressed,
Addressed.
so,
I think that should put on his list to look at.
okay, I think, thank you.
And because of the big floodplain there, where, you know, the creek has traditionally changed course and meandered, the hamlet itself doesn't have as much flooding issues, right? Because the water can just shoot through and then spread out.
But down there, that building is in the floodplain.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm thinking the hamlet itself is kind of out there. Yeah.
So, just wanted to show you guys
Thank
that.
you.
It's a fun map.
Thank you.
I will stop share. So I did already close the public hearing. So we'll move on to the agenda meeting, and I do want to add to the agenda, the call executive session, discuss, just personnel issues with the code office. And so I will open the meeting to invite committee reports. So we'll speak at once.
The planning board did not meet in May, so I don't.
All right.
I don't have any reports about that. The history advisory committee is going to be tomorrow for our first meeting of the season. Which, I don't know if you've gotten any of my emails about that. Okay,
You've sent them to her.
I have sent them to her.
Tomorrow, right?
Yeah, at 4.
The review board met last night, looked successfully at 4 projects. Things are going smoothly. The code officer was of great assistance in preparing materials for them.
Short and sweet. Okay,
The Ithaca Tompkins County Transportation Council had a policy committee meeting. Nothing really surprising. They're going to be having a planning and policy joint committee meeting in June. So they went over the top, they went over the tip, they added some things, but nothing specific to Carolyn.
okay,
And Ag Committee didn't meet, but I don't know if you've heard, a non-official Ag Committee project is kind of taking some of the steam from the work we've been doing is the Brookings Market, Friends of Brookings Market has been forming. And so we've had one meeting, which was a general open conversation, like 35 people came down at the BCC. And then we're gonna have another meeting, which I don't think it's been announced yet, probably at the fire hall, which could be as many as 40 people to talk. There's some
How is
speakers.
this being advertised? Because I never heard about
Yeah,
that.
the one was more kind of internal, like people that have said they are interested in talking about the process, where we're at and what happened to and questions about transferring it to a co-op. And I think the idea was they didn't want it open to everybody, that it was just people that had in certain circles that have been talking about it.
I heard about it from Emily Adams,
Yeah,
and she announced that there is another one, June
Yeah.
16th.
Yeah. On
Oh,
the
yeah.
16th,
on the 16th at 7 o'clock at the fire hall.
7 o'clock, right?
Yeah, 7 o'clock,
7 p.m.
7
at
p.m.
the fire hall.
at the fire hall.
And is
And
this,
that one's actually, speakers are invited that are either part of organizations that support businesses transitioning,
to co-op?
private businesses transitioning to collective co-ops of whatever flavor, and what it would take to start that process. And I think someone may be coming to talk about grant money to help pay for such activities. So this isn't directly associated with the official Ag Committee, but Don right now is sort of the chair of that project. And he feels like it's very important for what the Ag Committee wants to do and the kinds of things we've been talking about, so.
I thought they were also having, Aaron Snow and Deb Halpern were gonna talk about
Well,
It's possible at that meeting, yeah.
previous owners and their experience.
There was quite a bit of talk about
Yeah,
that,
that sounds
just at
interesting. The
at
challenges.
the potluck dinner at the Brookendale Community Center Sunday night.
What about the community center dinner?
I said, they were talking, there was some talk about
Okay,
the meeting coming up, cooperative, how it would work, how it wouldn't, ideas, people were kind of bouncing ideas around, so.
so the meeting on the 16th is intended like to be broadcast for anybody to come.
You're expecting between
So
40 and 70 people.
Yeah,
And so the intent of this is is it fair to say that an overriding intent of this is to create a retail space for food that supports local farmers?
Well, they're already selling some local foods, but it would.
Right.
It would
But I'm
hopefully
wondering,
be more of that.
I'm trying to decide if this would be appropriate for like a town announcement.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I don't think it's ready at this point. I think there needs to be
Okay.
more, there just needs to be, it's kind of getting people excited about the process. Because ultimately, we're gonna need lots of members for this to work.
Right,
And so I think the idea is to start to, people just that are really interested to start to kind of gather around to be, because the idea is there'll be a steering board, there'll be some kind of investor members, and then they'll like big, larger money who aren't necessarily members, but are like the friends of sort of, and then there'll be like more like members that are shopping at the co-op all the time and probably paying a smaller amount annual or whatever
and
to be
volunteering time.
yeah, to be members.
I mean, I would think it would be a good thing to have it to go out as the town announcement. We're just talking about putting it out on the listserv. I mean,
you're worried about too big of a response or something?
No, I just don't know how it, I don't know what, this is kind of like a private thing, so at this point, I don't know how it relates or
I
not.
would ask Don and Emily if they want it. How they wanna do
Yeah.
it, right?
Or the ad committee, if they think, basically,
co-
the ad committee could sponsor it,
Right,
Yeah,
right?
you could ask that, or and the COPs, right?
And the what?
the
Copes.
Copes, yeah, they're very much, the Copes are very much involved,
The-
this isn't like
Right.
separate from.
Right.
from them.
Or to ask them.
I'll ask Don right
To
now,
let you.
I got direct line.
But I
Exact.
know him pretty well, yeah.
I did.
I'm just saying, I mean, I really think, I mean, I can see that if. I mean, I think it's a justifiable thing for the ad committee to sponsor, but so that's my question.
Right, I would
So-
think so too. We've talked about supporting farmers markets and things like that, right? And I think that this is another venue. So,
Cool.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
since I'm the highway liaison, I guess I'll just say that the highway guys are planning they tore down the shed next to the salt thing, and they're planning to build a new structure, so there's been communications back and forth about what that would involve in terms of materials and expenditures. And they got a quote for all kinds of stuff from a regional lumberyard.
I shared that with everybody, right?
Yeah.
Everybody got it.
Yeah,
So,
and so we're
I
now
remember.
discussing with Guy what the best,
I sent it out
Wait
for the
for-
last meeting, but. it
Oh,
might be very-
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
because it has to fall in line with our procurement policy.
So when I look at your, purchase of, I mean, so. I can understand wanting to, like, you're gonna build something, so this week we'll go out. To Home Depot or wherever and get, the 2x4s and the wall, to get whatever we need and we'll do it. But by the procurement policy, if you spend. Over like what? $20,000 for goods in a fiscal year on something, it needs to be bid out. So I basically asked Guy that question, I said, but, I can see. I can see doing it the other way, and he confirmed, yes, that's subject to. To your procurement policy, and public bid and prevailing wage, and contractors have to be, it's a new provision that contractors have to be on some sort of a registered list of contractors, so.
So technically, our employees can't do the work,
No, they can do the work, we can do in-house work just
Okay.
fine, but if they contract out,
okay,
if they.
Like
If they
electrical.
bid it out.
Mm.
that's the same with materials. If they buy $20,000 of materials, it has to be bid,
Yeah, exactly. So-
are we at that number yet?
Oh, it's the sheet that Bob tallied with this vendor was $80,000 for the building.
But it hasn't been spent.
No,
No,
nothing's
okay.
been bought,
Oh, okay,
no.
I thought you said that they had bought some local numbers.
No, I was just making an
Oh.
example of what, I can see if I was doing it, I'm not gonna go out and buy $80,000 worth of stuff all at once. Go to the store this week, get what I want and so on, so I can see that
Mhm.
rationale, but. So one of the things, and Guy has mentioned this before. And is that. To give the town us latitude in selecting bidders. Based on sort of intangibles that we might consider important, we need to have a best value policy. So I told him. Great, send me a draft, I wanna do that ASAP because we've been talking about this for years and I don't know why you don't have it, so. So that's gonna be, as soon as I get it, I'll introduce it, and we'll put that in place. But anyway, we haven't heard from Bob, right? I didn't.
No, not about that.
Yeah, I mean, I sent the email.
And I haven't talked to him about it.
Yeah, okay. I sent him an email today, copied Tim, and just said, here's what Guy said. I need your help making sure that, I mean, listing those parts, things on there, I didn't even know what some of them were, so. He's gonna have to make sure they're right. So. It's gonna take some effort, but once we get it, you know. Getting stuff out is not a big deal, but I think it's important that we do this responsibly. So.
Yeah.
So that's what Tim reported. So. Anything else?
Any broadband updates?
Trying to think, I'm helping Dave with the, and the Vantage Point person with making arrangements to get these two, they call them points of presence. It's like, so there's the one over there that we're gonna have, so. And Bobby said he can lay the foundation for that in highway crew, so that's great. And I've connected him with them and because he had questions, so. And we're hoping to get this and then there'll just be a shed, an AT&T shed that goes on top of it and
Right here on our property.
on our property,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
So we're working on the one, they're currently thinking of Speedsville for another one. It's a smaller thing, but it's not insignificant, so we're still grappling with exactly where it would make the most sense. There's, you know, we don't have town space there, so we've got the fire station. And we're kind of looking at that. But then of the communications this week, the land area we're need is larger than what's available on the fire station. So then we would have to get an easement with a neighbor parcel. So I'm actually asking them can we think about this more carefully? Like today I suggested, maybe it makes sense to see if we can just put all on the neighboring parcel and have one agreement with one entity or something, but.
Or what about the community center?
Yeah, I was gonna ask them
Church.
about, yeah, I brought that
Yeah,
up too,
like that.
so we may revisit that too.
Maybe we should install it in the gazebo in the middle of the park.
That's right, put it under the gazebo.
That's too small, I can tell you.
And it's heavy enough, it has to be on a concrete pad. Just wondering if we could hang on
I
it.
think so, I think
On something.
so the one in Speedsville is not gonna be as big as this one, like, this is gonna be a hut. The other thing, we toured the town with. I did with Dave and Josh Breitbart, who's the head of. CAO, the Connect All office, and. These they're little metal things, they look like the phone sheds you see out on they're not big. But then, you know, you need a backup generator and a propane tank and it kind of gets,
wow.
yeah, you got backup, so. So anyway, I'm trying to help with that. It's like, you know, isn't that my skill set? But they want me to help, which makes sense with local connections and things, but we're working on it, so. Velvet and I will be working with Amanda Anderson this month. Amanda sent me an email just today. Here's the plan, which she had 2 columns. Here's what I'll do in Dryden. Here's what Town of Caroline. This is all filled in on her side, so she's doing all the work. One of the first steps we need to do very soon and this month is transfer a substantial portion of our bond monies to Dryden. Because she's gonna be managing the 2 lumps and paying bills, so. So we'll be working with her to do that. You know, Velvet's been out this week for personal reasons and for help for recoveries from knee surgery, so. Be hoping to connect with her soon and hope things are better for her soon. Yeah,
Did you mention the tour you took with Josh and,
I just did.
oh, well, I mean, and going down into Tioga County and those houses there, or?
What do you mean? Like
Well,
Speedville?
Yeah, the possibility of getting a few houses in Tioga County to help support the project.
Yeah, so they did, we brought that up on that day out. We pointed out that the most logical way to make our network work would be to go up West Creek Road, which is along the eastern end of Caroline, and then go to Goodrich Hill and connect up that way. And they had no faults with that. So they're not concerned about municipal boundaries. They're concerned about rural, robust broadband. So we did communicate that to Vantage. Dave did. So we'll see. I think it's a super good move, and Vantage did too.
I saw a Vantage truck yesterday.
So yeah, I see them all the
Seen them
time.
all over the place.
I see them all the time. Yeah. They're out there working. Yep. Right. Anything else? Does that satisfy your curiosity about the broadband?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just think it's good for us to always
I think now,
monthly.
I think there's gonna
chat
be
about it.
a Dryden meeting on this Friday at 10:30.
Okay,
Are you gonna be able to attend?
I can. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I might, but I very likely won't be
Okay,
able to because I'm traveling. So,
Okay.
okay, great. I'll let Dave know. Yeah, wow, things are moving, so
Yeah.
they're gearing up, so. Yeah, okay, shall we move forward into the business
Yep.
items? So I didn't actually write a resolution, but I'd like to offer a resolution to adopt the Caroline flood damage prevention law as introduced at the last meeting, and I will say that I did send it to the county for 239 review. I got a letter back a couple days ago stating that they saw no significant impacts, countywide impacts. So we have their approval. Yeah,
Second.
yeah, seconded by Tim. Any questions or further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The flood damage law is adopted, and we'll get that off to the state. The due date was June 18th, so I'm happy to have that action completed. Kate, would you like to introduce the next resolution however you wish?
Oh. Okay, so, let's see, so the town of Caroline has been working with 9 other municipalities. Well, they worked with them and got a grant, oh my gosh, 2 years ago almost, to hire a consulting firm, Cambridge Analytics, to write a Vision Zero plan, a Safe Streets for All plan, which would enable us to access money for our town from the infrastructure law. Fingers crossed that we still can do that. And it had to be done in specific parameters. The plan did. The Safe Streets for All plan is almost, I was hoping to have the the last version, the final version. The resolutions from each town are putting into an appendix on the back of the plan. Most towns have already passed the resolution to support this. The Vision Zero wrote, I hadn't been using the term Vision Zero, none of us were really, but that was underneath all of it. And I sent an email out of where you could go look at what Vision Zero is. Cities around the world have adopted this, as well as federal government and cities and towns in the country. So I also sent out a link to the draft version, which is very close to the final version. And then there's also, they recognized priority places, 2 priority places in each town, which are identified through data and through input as dangerous places. Even though priority does not mean that we have to, as a town, act on those immediately. If we want to act on something else, we could do that. Another great thing about this Safe Streets for All plan is that New York State will accept this as a plan for safety, an overall plan for safety, and that allows us this summer to apply for some funding through the state. Or and it's more of a roads type thing about some rails where people go off the road, or also the little signs that say how fast you're going, right? That just kind of go next to the speed limit signs. They run $4,000 to $5,000 a piece, so there would be money for that. So it would be good to have the plan in place so that we can act on it later as we see fit. So, any questions?
You haven't introduced it yet.
I haven't introduced it yet, so I have to say I will introduce the resolution, right? How do I?
So you can do it however you wish. You can just read the whereases.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm gonna read it. I would just
Oh, okay.
wondering if everybody understood why we were doing this.
Oh,
That's all first.
yep.
Okay. All right. So here's a resolution, a commitment to Vision Zero roadway deaths, philosophy and adoption of Tompkins County Safe Streets for All Joint Safety Action Plan. Whereas the life and health of all persons living and traveling within the town of Caroline are our utmost priority, and no one should die or be seriously injured while traveling on our town streets. And whereas Vision Zero is the concept that traffic deaths and serious injuries on our roadways are unacceptable. And whereas Vision Zero is a holistic strategy aimed at eliminating all traffic fatalities and severe injuries suffered by all road users while increasing safe, healthy, and equitable mobility for all. And whereas streets and transportation systems have traditionally been designed primarily to move cars efficiently, and Vision Zero supports a paradigm shift by designing streets and transportation systems to move all people safely, including people of all ages and abilities, pedestrians, bicyclists, public transit users, scooter riders, and motorcyclists, as well as drivers and passengers of motor vehicles. And whereas Vision Zero recognizes that people will sometimes make mistakes, so the road system and related policies should be designed to ensure that those inevitable mistakes do not result in severe injuries or fatalities. Therefore, transportation planners and engineers and policymakers are expected to improve the roadway environment, policies, and other related systems to lessen the severity of crashes. And whereas nearly half of all fatal crashes occur on rural roads, even though only 19% of the US population lives in rural areas. And whereas the town of Caroline's transportation infrastructure serves an increasing number of vulnerable road users, such as pedestrians and bicyclists. Putting in an and for me.
Yeah.
And whereas speed is recognized as a major determining factor of survival in crash, and whereas the town of Caroline is working and will work towards reducing vehicle speeds because the likelihood of a pedestrian surviving a crash is 10% if hit by a vehicle moving 40 miles per hour. And whereas children, older adults, people of color, people with disabilities, people who are unhoused, and people with low income face a significantly disproportionate risk of traffic injuries and fatalities. And whereas making streets safer for all people using all modes of transportation will encourage people to travel on foot, by bicycle, and by public transit, which supports a healthier, more active lifestyle and reduces environmental pollution. And whereas successful Vision Zero programs are a result of all stakeholders, including government at all levels, industry, nonprofit/advocacy, researchers, and the general public collaborating to prevent fatalities and serious injuries on our roadways. Therefore, it be resolved. The Caroline Town Board adopts the goal of eliminating traffic deaths and a 50% reduction in serious injuries by 2040 and endorses Vision Zero as a comprehensive and holistic approach to achieving this goal. And further, be it resolved that the Caroline Town Board adopts the Tompkins County Safe Streets for All Joint Safety Action Plan attached here too as Exhibit A as a comprehensive and holistic approach to achieving Vision Zero. And further be it resolved that the town Caroline clerk shall certify the adoption of this resolution effective immediately by the.
Second. Questions?
I asked Bobby if he had any feedback about it.
I sent it to Bobby.
No.
I talked to Bobby.
We talked to him.
Okay,
Okay, good.
yeah, he never got back to me.
He got back to me.
Oh, did he get, okay.
So he said, I did read the Vision Zero plan. It's great, but I think that it's a given. It's always been the goal, and it almost makes it sound like we're admitting there's a problem with traffic deaths and serious injuries. All the accidents of recent were all human error and nothing to do with traffic control or signage, etc. I'm not convinced we need to make it a local law. There's a misunderstanding here because it's not. But that's my opinion.
Okay, I mean,
That's
one thing the resolution did say is that, I mean, I'd be glad to talk to Bobby about that. Is that mistakes are gonna happen, and they're usually human mistakes. And so they want to have redundancy in safety. So, and again, it's not that these haven't been done, it's that they have to be done in specific parameters with specific language for what needs to be available. As part of a larger plan. It's not that it hasn't, it's not meant to be critical of.
So is the Vision Zero like a rethinking? I mean, I can see how. I mean, I would think like Cornell Local Roads and road planners, this should be part of their thinking all the time, right? So it's just like,
I think
oh,
any traffic engineer would be saying
Yeah.
that's
so
the
are
primary
we,
goal if they're thinking.
is it like a transformation of how they're supposed to think about it, or?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
In what way? Or what practical way would they have to change things?
Well, there are different people involved.
Mhm.
There's more planners involved. Historically, traffic engineers, for example, have gotten an award for taking 30 seconds, 2 minutes off a commute by making it faster, by getting rid of pedestrian crosswalk, or by putting the pedestrian crosswalk way up here so that people are crossing anyway. And so studies about how pedestrians are being done needs to be included. And that historically has not been done. It's been more about traffic flow.
So incorporating
So
concerns,
incorporating
pedestrians and bikes.
pedestrians, bikes,
Okay,
within, so as it mentioned different groups being involved in, but it is a different view. In that it does not give absolute priority to the traffic getting through quickly, right? So it would say, okay,
Efficiently.
efficiently, yes,
Coming from a traffic engineer family.
yes.
yes.
Efficiently,
But I think about, like, I know, like, talking to David Orr, remember,
Mhm.
I think it was an email or something, or. Cause we're always, even like I am always thinking like, we need to lower the speed limit, but, his point was. There's a threshold where if you lower it too low, it creates hazards or whatever, so, I mean, it's like, they're thinking about.
so
things
there are
like
different
this.
things in the plan. It talks about education, it talks about enforcement, it talks about designing streets. So there talks about pedestrian ways, it talks about bikeways, and
Mhm.
so it's a lot of things coming together, right? Education of drivers, so they don't want to feel like they're flying when they're driving and are okay with being more like a turtle, right? Yeah, or, yeah, I mean, there's lots of different parts to this. And it's a vision. But the idea that nobody would have to be killed in car accidents, it's a great vision. We take
But I
it,
mean, like, I will say that. That's my vision already. I
Yeah, I
mean,
think
that-
that's the goal
I
already.
think that's what Bobby's point is.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I think, nobody's comfortable
Well, nobody wants to
adopting a
see
goal and saying,
anybody.
okay, we'll have 10.
Right. No, nobody wants anybody to die. At the same time, if somebody gets killed on a road, it's not front page news. Right?
Well,
It's kind of like,
Yeah, it's
This
like,
county, this county it is.
oh, well, I remember getting the Ithaca Journal way back when. And it would be like page 4 or 5. It was an accident. Somebody was helicoptered out. We never found out if they lived or died. I mean, it's just kind of, another accident. So,
Well, it
Well,
is true,
I
there's
guess-
rarely, I mean, it's in the Ithaca Voice, the Ithaca.com constantly, but they never do follow-ups. That's true.
One thing I think that a vision like this is interesting to me is that it seems like the data that it was pulling from, it looks at history of deaths and injury to determine danger zones.
mhm,
But if a community is educated and thinking about planning around best practices, like this vision is trying to
mhm.
portray for everybody, that hopefully the data in the future for plans like this can be looking at other things other than just deaths and injuries.
absolutely.
Because it doesn't help if you have a really dangerous road and there happens to be no deaths or injuries, it doesn't mean that it's not a dangerous road. It
Right.
just means there's no death. or
Well, the
injury.
other problem with Caroline is, like, there were, how many, 1 or 2? 1.
In the last 5 years.
There's a statistical problem here.
But there's been plenty of accidents and near misses.
Yeah,
Right,
So,
I was
That's the one,
surprised
there
that,
was one death, was that the one on Buffalo Road?
I assume
I think
there
so.
was a girl that slid through at White Church and Valley Road in,
and they didn't even talk about the pedestrian death apparently.
Yeah, I mean, the guy
Buffalo.
that, he was going out to get his mail and he got,
oh, that was Chuck.
Yeah,
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 yeah, I think that was the person in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
and
It's, I was surprised at how high Enfield was, looking at the data for the county.
they have a lot of deaths.
Yeah, they had a lot of deaths.
probably because more people are walking on the road because of poverty.
About 79.
It's possibly 79 people fly on 79 on that side of the town, the county.
None in Enfield.
I drive that
I thought
quite
it
regularly.
was in.
Hmm?
I thought 79 was in. Does it go out
Some,
Enfield?
some of it's in Enfield,
Yeah.
yeah, out west there,
Beyond, so, West
Mm-hmm.
Hill, I guess.
yeah.
Sorry, I said Enfield, I meant Newfield. Newfield.
Oh, Newfield,
Well,
oh,
That's because of whatchamacallit corners.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
fast,
People get killed all the time.
Yeah,
yeah, and people
Um,
drive fast there. Wow.
right.
Yeah,
So. What else? I mean, there's they worked within the zero vision parameters and the data they had. They also have the input from people. And came up with this plan. And some of it, I mean, there are 2 places in Caroline that are specified. But it also talks about a lot of other ideas that could be used systemically throughout the county where it's deemed appropriate. And again, this is the okay for, we just deem it's appropriate to then say, see, we have a plan that says it. And then we can access money. That's what this plan is for.
well, it seems like it can't hurt,
Right,
so.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
And is it mainly the county government that's kind of spearheading the actual work
No,
to support everybody, or
No.
do we as a town now have to take initiative and move forward with the
Good question.
recommendations in the plan?
there's a number of things that could happen.
Uh-huh.
In we could apply, for example, for the state grant. And I listened to a webinar. And that was for the local roads program. It's New York State, and I would think Bobby would be working on that, or we would work as a town on that. Or we could ask the Ithaca Tompkins Transportation Council to give us a hand with this. Or we could hire a planner. I mean, there's lots of different ways to go about it. The county is interested in county roads. This is the Ithaca Tompkins County Transportation Council is the metropolitan planning organization for the area, which is, so that's a little separate from the county, although the county does support this plan. And so did Cornell and other groups, and the state. So when I said the county supports it, I meant the county government supports it, also the county highway supports this plan as well. So they could use it maybe for a county road. I mean, it could.
Is the county legislature adopting this resolution?
I believe they have.
Okay. I would
I
think so.
believe they voted on it 2 weeks ago.
So that's another just a quick point to make is that we're responsible for particular roads and the county and state are responsible for particular roads. So this doesn't give us any more ability to maintain or manage the state or county roads. It's just our local roads that this is applying to.
Correct.
Yeah, I think so. I think. Yeah, I'm just thinking of the one intersection, which is, they're both county roads. So, you know, we do that hand. I think the town, if they were interested in getting something done, could do it hand in hand with the county. I mean, we haven't gotten there.
All right.
So, yeah,
Give some direction, vision.
vision.
All right, shall I call for a vote?
Sure.
Is that okay? You ready?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kate. The minutes of May 21st meeting. I provided a few minuscule edits for Jesse. Does anyone have any comments?
I did
Thank
those,
you.
Mark, and I sent them to back to Mike, and they're reposted the day you gave them to me. Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. The minutes of May 21st are hereby approved. Thank you, Jesse. So items for the June 18th meeting.
I have a question that might relate to that meeting or not. Since we opted in for the cannabis
Right.
use in town, is there any update or follow-up that we need to do to talk to the county about how the taxes are gonna be done, or when, or like when are they gonna start flowing, or like when are we official with the state? Like, I'm just curious about how that process is gonna go. Do we know any more details? Does someone need to follow up with someone with the county to know how that's gonna work?
Well, has anybody opened a
I don't think we
dispensary?
have any. No dispensaries or places of consumption have opened.
But you're
Okay.
thinking it
So-
should be in place before.
Well, I don't know if it's chicken or the egg issue.
Uh-huh.
Do we know of any, yeah,
Would be Dryden, would be the one to inquire. We could ask Ray or something, or he might know, or Jason. I don't have any information about it. Haven't been thinking about it at all.
I could ask Ray, if you want.
Be
Do you
interesting
know Ray?
to know.
I should.
I mean, even if
I need
one
to-
were going to open up in the town, it would take quite a long time for that to happen. So then we would have plenty of time to concern
Okay.
ourselves
Figure it
with it.
I mean, they'd have to get a building permit.
Well, they'd have to apply for a license to
Right.
do it, and they'd have to get a building permit, and
Mhm.
the woman that was here didn't get a license already?
I don't know.
She was the one that was advocating,
Lisa?
yeah.
Yeah, she is licensed.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Jesse. I thought so too.
But as
Is
far
she-
as I know, no documents have come through my office anyway for a building permit application or anything like that.
I know she expressed interest in attending ad committee meetings. Has she done that? Has she been able to?
We haven't really been that active since
Huh.
for various reasons, like we've had 2 potlucks that were gonna be at my house, and both times I canceled because I was sick,
Yeah,
so that's part of the problem.
okay. Just curious. Trying to think. it's not gonna be too long since we're gonna be thinking about budget, for 26.
And I don't know if the planning board will come up with some changes to the zoning law or not, because like, we did not have a meeting in May. And I'm not
But
sure.
was that the provisional plan that you said last time, that at the June meeting, they might get something?
Yeah, but since we didn't meet in May.
For the zoning law?
Changes related, so in other words, the way they're handling the mobile home law is to make changes. To
Okay,
make changes to the zoning law,
Okay.
and they were gonna propose. Whenever the process is done, they will have changes to propose, is my
for
understanding.
the mobile home, for the zoning law, for the mobile home part,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Yes. So it's possible, but I don't think, at this point, I don't think that's possible because we haven't,
Mhm,
I don't even think there's a date to meet in June.
mhm.
So it wouldn't be for the next meeting.
Okay.
So, but that would be coming up.
I
maybe
see,
in July.
yeah. I will expect to have a best value, whatever it's called, law. I haven't heard back from Guy, so I hope soon. I've been barraging him with assignments lately. He's gonna get one more, but it's to review an agreement that he wrote, so I think it'll be fine, for the Banks Road project for housing, soil and water.
Right,
I expect to have that to present to you. So that's an agreement with Soil and Water for their engineering services by the June 18th meeting.
Good.
So I should have that. Yeah. That's all I can think of for now. So if you think of something,
You two going to have or will have a meeting with the town courts.
Yes.
Do we need to have that for the agenda for next time?
no,
no,
That's just a, no, okay.
I mean,
Possibly not.
Michelle and Tim, Michelle took on liaisonship last time, and so we proposed a meeting, so they're organizing that, and Tim.
to be TBD.
Yeah, so we want to hear their concerns and what any kind of thing they're proposing or whatever, so.
Will we hear any more from the town Barnes process by the 18th?
Well, hopefully we can pull together this RFP soon. Bob wants to get that building shell up by the fall. So is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Jonathan? So yeah, I hope so.
Ideally, yeah.
Anything on the trails? The trail
Not
needs to be.
really, except we do have the easement now, because the 90 days is elapsed, so we do have it. We're waiting for the bill, and then we'll pay the bill, and the group is meeting, and I expect to have an update in my supervisory report on the 18th, because we'll have met again.
There's a rail meeting. There's a trail committee.
So this is the 4 supervisors and planners.
Oh,
We've been meeting for a long
Years.
time,
I'm in on
and
that.
Kate has come too, so. But yeah, I will say, one thing we're gonna be talking about is establishing a friends group, so we wanna do that soon, so that's. I'll talk more about that next time, because I don't know the details yet. We wanted to, when we establish a friends group, we wanna know. Give them guidance on, what it would be good for them to help us with, so.
And what role do they play? So,
But I think, okay, so, but that is a good point, Kate, right? So. Are you planning at the next meeting to outline the proposal for a grant
Yes.
application?
yes,
Okay, so that would be the 18th, not tonight.
that's right,
Okay,
that's right.
Okay, because we do want to, before we move forward, and when the deadline is the end of July, right?
July 31st.
Okay. So.
Yeah.
Does
It
that
helps with some planning,
Yes,
great,
yes, it would be specifically for
you
planning.
like that?
I do, I like planning.
Yeah,
Because it would be really good to have those details before you do tons of work on it, so we can discuss it as a board.
Well, we should authorize it,
Yeah.
yeah.
because it is a commitment.
Right.
Oh,
I mean, I can say a couple words now.
that'd be fine. I
Okay.
think that'd be great, actually.
Definitely.
So there are a couple of different grants with the state right now. One, I won't go into too much, was for
Yeah.
more shovel-ready things that we're not ready for. And then the other one, I wish I had my paper with me, is for planning, or can be for planning. And it would be a 50-50 match. And the idea is to get a plan for the whole length, because there are so many pieces moving, like how to cross a county road is, one. So the other thing is that I'm looking into is I want to make absolutely sure, but I believe that the money we're putting for acquisition will be part of that 50-50 match that can be used. So
Towards it, yeah.
so that would be, some extra leverage. There are also volunteer hours and some other things. So, yeah,
But between the four towns,
It's
the
between
total
the
for
four towns,
purchase is
right.
$36,600 some dollars.
right,
So I'm just,
Purchase of what, the actual
but
right of way?
yeah,
yeah.
we had to,
And then we also have from the county, we have 38.
oh yeah, or maybe 40.
$38,000.
Okay, that's the other part.
So that gives us a good starting, and I need to look up,
75 or so.
I had some estimates last year, the grant I didn't get, how much of the planning would take, and what would be necessary. So we just had a meeting yesterday and I haven't gotten much beyond that. But, so I want to, talk with Amanda Marsh with the New York State Parks about it. I want to talk to her again, about details about what kind of maps we need, we need some paperwork from NYSEG saying that they support it. We need to make sure there are no other, easements that
Yeah.
NYSEG's given out.
That's all the mechanics of
That's
the
all the
grant
mechanics,
submission,
yeah,
right?
that's the grant, yeah.
So,
But again, it would be for the whole length, what needs to be done.
so the other day in the meeting, Rod came up with an estimate of 50,000 that we would
Yeah.
have to pony up between the four towns. How did that, I was trying to reconstruct that today. So was there an amount that we decided would be appropriate for a plan for this segment that is less?
Right, he came up
because
with that
if-
number
if
and I said,
the-
let me
the
look
cap
at what
is
Fernando gave me,
675,000,
is capped.
50/50.
Mhm.
So that's what, like 1.2 million.
Right, that we
if
don't need, obviously, this is a small.
So I was just wondering what the number was Rod started with, but anyway, I know he came up with 50,000.
I can look up the number that Fernando and I came up with last summer.
Okay.
He called a couple of people to ask, planning groups, to ask what would be,
Okay, Michelle?
When you say 50,000 between the four, you mean 50,000 each
No,
no,
divided?
that would be split up
Okay.
somehow
no,
This.
for the planning grant.
right, for the planning grant.
So I'm just trying, so that would be great if you can line,
Right.
because the board needs to understand that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
my only concern, if it's a larger amount,
Right,
then I'm really concerned about us making commitments for anything. I'm totally for all of this, but at this particular moment this year,
we have to be
because we
careful.
have so many uncertainties
Yeah.
Yeah.
about other things that
Yeah.
could fall and crash us on the head.
Mhm.
So I just want us to be really, really cautious.
Yeah, I'm concerned about
If
that
it's a
too.
smaller amount, I don't think we have to worry as much,
Right.
And also this project will probably, well, cost more than it was budgeted for, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want us to be
Mhm.
careful.
Could you elaborate on the crashing down? Cause I don't understand what that means.
On what did he say?
You said the things that could be come crashing down.
Well, if for
Money we owe,
example.
What?
money we might owe.
Well, specifically.
Well, one thing that Tim mentioned to me in conversation was, the restoration grant for this. So our cost share is 50%. And I think that's, trying to remember, $350,000 or $375,000, one of the two, but that's a lot of money.
Mhm.
But it's possible, people have said, we got this, big grant. It's not a lot of money for doing this kind of work. So when we start doing this, there may be additional items that we didn't put in the original work scope that we see are, no, this is essential. I mean, we're gonna be faced with this decision then, it's like, I think we should pay for this from the town.
Okay,
So that's one thing, yeah.
it's inevitable.
The broadband,
probably will
the
happen.
broadband costs are still a little bit yet to be fully determined.
Our cost share for the broadband may increase, and we'll probably, I hope to have a report on that at the next meeting.
And then the money for the highway
That would work,
building,
yeah.
yeah.
And then, yes, absolutely, and the money for the highway, so those are, and the highway building's not gonna be insignificant, so. Well, we already have, I would call it, the number we got for that, shopping list was 80,000, but that didn't include the concrete for the foundation or the electrical, it was bare bones.
Right.
And so inflationary factors impact all of those.
And we have to keep in mind also our commitment to remedying the main highway building. Also as a cost on the horizon.
That's on the horizon.
On the horizon, right.
That's the
Not this
next step.
Right, but I'm just trying to keep
Yep.
everything
Yep.
in perspective. But so really, the only reason that I asked Kate is because if it ended up being a big number, then
Right.
I'd hate for you to do all of this legwork and we go,
Oh,
big
yeah.
number this year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's try this in a couple of years.
So this has, we're just looking at the ATIP grant I wrote last year. So
It's okay. It'll
I-
be for the next meeting.
yeah, it'll be for the next meeting. I mean, I think Fernando and I took the amount that the county had, which was 43,000,
Next meeting's fine.
and we kind of, went
Yeah.
for that. So.
Actually, if. Not to be too, but if you could just, in advance, if you
Yeah.
could create a summary.
Sure. I can do
Okay,
that.
that'd be cool, I'd appreciate that, thank you. So yeah, I'm glad that came up, because that was really, I think that was important to discuss tonight, so that's good.
I mean, I was, just to add, I was actually pretty excited about the shovel ready grants. It's an 80-20 match, thinking we could do like a section or two that are pretty close to being walkable. But we kind of pulled back and gone, I'm not up to writing 2 grants by July 31st.
Yeah.
And, I think it's better to kind of go slowly and look at it as a whole project.
Yeah.
And understand more like
Yeah. And these,
what the Friends do, because, for example, there's grants Friends of Trails can apply for to New York State for funding on building and maintenance. Should they be doing that? So there's like a whole bunch of governance things that
Yeah.
we don't understand. So,
Well, thanks for everything you're doing.
good. Glad we had these final comments, so if there's nothing else, I'm gonna offer a resolution to enter executive session.
Second.
Okay, I hereby offer, I'm gonna make the resolution.
I already did.
I will offer a resolution to, I did offer that, I'm sorry, did I get a second on that?
I just seconded
He
it.
just seconded.
You second, okay, we never
And then you
did.
rebuffed him.
I did, I forgot that I introduced it. So, wow, we never voted on that, did we? Yeah, so all in favor?
All right.
Aye. All right, we're entering executive session at 8:12.